So today we are at Studio Azalea in East Palo Alto, and that's the studio of Kai Montgomery. You probably know Kai already. If you don't, you need to check her out. She has her own Patreon that I highly recommend, but she is a beautiful dancer and a wonderful teacher. She specializes in American Tribal Style, or ATS, and she's also a member of my company Gold Star. And I've asked her to help me today to explain the octogram. So we're going to start with the upper body, the chest octogram, and I'm going to talk about which muscles that we're using, which direction we're taking the chest, and sort of give you an idea of my basic foundation for all of my upper body technique. We'll do a whole separate video of the lower half of the body. So we're going to start just talking about our foundational posture, our home position. And I prefer to have my feet hip width apart instead of having my feet together in like a classical parallel first. So I like to have my feet just right underneath my hip bones. And then we're gonna bend the knees and drop the tailbone. So coming into our neutral posture with our lower half of the body. And this is gonna be really important because we need the lower half of the body to stabilize the rest of our body so we feel supported enough to move our upper body freely without the lower half of the body having to compromise or counterbalance what we're doing. So from there, I think of an energetic spiral up and out from the inner thighs. A lot of us have very weak inner thighs, and that means it's harder to maintain our tuck. It also might mean we roll into the arches of our feet. I have a whole other video talking about this and foot placement, so if that's something that sounds interesting to you, please check that out. Anyhow, I'm engaging from the low belly while lengthening the low back to create a slight posterior tilt in the pelvis. And then from there, we're thinking of getting tall through the spine. Ears are stacked over shoulders, shoulders stacked over hips. And then my transverse abdominis is engaging. So your transverse abdominis is your deepest core muscle. And it's a muscle that's very close to the spine. So it's a really great stabilizer, and that's gonna help give us a little bit of length through the spine and then help us to move from the inside out. So the transverse abdominis acts like a corset. And if you imagine that you're wearing a corset and someone was behind you and tightening that corset, you'd feel a little pulled in from the sides and a little bit taller. I talk about the transverse abdominis because there's a lot of flaring of the ribs in the tribal belly dance or tribal fusion or whatever you want to call it scene. And we've kind of moved away from that. It used to be a thing where we would really have this extended chest and flared ribs, but I actually prefer to have my ribs slightly knitting in towards each other. And then from there, I have some room to move with the ribs. So I'm going to have Kai demonstrate as I show each part of the octogram. So we're going to go clockwise, starting to the left, and we'll just have you have your hands resting on your hips, and then shoulders are relaxed. So through all of this, I'm going to ask for you to try to think of shoulders being relaxed. Easier said than done. And we have a trapezius muscle that we're going to be using a bit, which sort of works like this, like an upside down triangle, but we want to think of the upper trapezius being really relaxed. So as we start to the left, this is essentially a chest slide to the left. So I'm going to ask Kai to contract from underneath the right lat, right underneath the shoulder blade, and then from her right oblique. And that's going to send her chest away to the left, and then she's going to pull back to neutral and stop. It's not a super big movement. It's more about it being controlled and clean and clear. So again, left lat, right oblique, ascending the chest to the left, and then return to neutral. We'll just go ahead and go to the other side. So sliding the chest to the right, we're activating the opposite side of the body. Left oblique, left lat pressing down, and then back to neutral. And then again, going to the right, contracting from the left lat, left oblique, and then again, back to neutral. So notice when she does this, if you could go again, if you look at her shoulders, go ahead and go just side to side through neutral. she's engaging from her lats underneath the shoulder blades, but that doesn't mean she's pressing her shoulders up and down. Go ahead and show pressing from the shoulders or pressing from the deltoids. Right? That's what a lot of us start to do when we learn our upper body isolation. So we want to think of shoulders relaxed, activating right underneath the lats. All right, so from there, we're going to talk about taking the chest up and down. So I like to think of the chest is not moving straight forward, it's not moving straight up, it's actually a combination of the two. Straight up would be a little mini back bend. Forward would be taking my shoulders in front of my hips. Remember, I want to keep my shoulders stacked right over my hips for optimum movement and mobility. So that trapezius that we were talking about, we're going to move from underneath the trapezius, or excuse me, the lower part of the trapezius, to think of sliding the shoulder blades down and in towards each other to allow the chest to rise up and forward at a diagonal and then rest back to neutral. And then again, contracting from the upper back and then neutral. And again, if you look at Kai's shoulders, she's not going to use your shoulders. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Not doing that. Exactly. Right? So that's just sort of cheating it and sort of, again, ribs start to flare out when we do that. Also, we want to keep all that work out of the shoulders because it's going to make our upper trapezius really tight over time. So I think about right sort of where your bra would connect in the back if you're wearing a bra. Yeah, and then you can see that there's a activating and pressing down to lift up and then back to neutral. We want to make sure every time we come back down in the octogram, we're not dropping past our neutral position. We want to return to that same neutral every time. Now talking about down, this is again where we want to avoid the upper trapezius working. So shoulders are going to stay relaxed, and then Kai's going to contract from the upper abs and then a little bit from the ribs to move the chest down and in at a diagonal. So going back to your neutral and then down and in and then back to neutral. And then maybe take a little turn to the right just so we can see how that looks from the side. Maybe here. And then try that again. So back and down, yeah, nice. And then back to neutral. Back and down, neutral. Again, notice her shoulders, her upper trapezius is not contracting, and the head of her shoulder is not rounding forward, right? Her shoulders are relaxed, exactly. So it's sort of making space in your rib cage for your chest to move, if that makes sense. I'm warm, I'm gonna take this off. And now we can be twins.
That's your t-shirt.
All right, so again, let's go from up, neutral, down, neutral. So using lower trapezius, returning to neutral, upper abs down and in, neutral. Upper back, neutral, upper abs, neutral. So again, this is moving on a diagonal. The octogram is actually moving like this, sort of on an angle. Yeah. All right, so I really love drilling up, neutral, down, neutral on its own because it helps you find neutral position for your body. And I think this is really important because it's very common in classical dance forms like ballet, for example. It's sort of a one-size-fits-all approach to posture and technique, whereas I feel like we're kind of throwing that idea out the door, and you can find how things feel and look best on your own body. So neutral position is going to look very different on every person, and this is why it's going to be nice having Kai here today. When we get through our drilling of the octogram, we're going to do it side by side, and you can see how it looks different on different bodies. So you don't have to necessarily compare how it looks on me to how it looks on your body. You can make it work for yourself. All right, so now let's talk about diagonals. The diagonals are a little bit more difficult. They're points in the octogram that you've probably hit before, and for example, your diamonds or your squares or your chest circle is going to hit all of those 8 points. However, moving on the diagonal to get to those points is a little bit challenging. We tend to move more side to side or up and down. So we're going to go to the up left diagonal of the octogram back to neutral, and then the upright diagonal of the octogram and back to neutral. Let's turn back towards the mirror. So I sort of think of piecing together which muscles I use for different things and sort of bringing them back together to work together. So if I'm going to the left front diagonal, when I went left, I used my left lat, left oblique. Oblique is more in the front of the body, so I'm going to leave that alone since I want to go forward. I'm going to use my left lat. When I took the chest up, or when I had Kai move her chest up, we used the lower trapezius, which took the chest forward and up, right? So now we can take a combination of the two. Right lat, lower trapezius, and that extends her chest to the front left diagonal, and then pull back to neutral. Yeah. And then again, pressing down through that lat, squeezing from the lower trapezius, and back to neutral. A couple more times. Up, neutral, up, neutral. Yeah, it's hard. It takes some practicing, but it gets easier over time. And then let's try the right side. So we'll use the left lat, lower trapezius, and then back to neutral. And again, good. So come back to neutral. You can see that her chest is moving away. Her chest is moving up and forward at a diagonal, but her shoulders are still over her hips, right?
It's really hard.
It is hard to not do that, right? So we want to relax that right shoulder and think of contracting from the left side. Exactly. We don't need to pull this up, right? Yeah, you can relax that. So I know this is a lot of talking, there'll be more drilling in a minute, but I'm really, really focused on trying to get dancers to relax their shoulders when doing chest articulations because for a variety of reasons, but I feel like it gives you much cleaner technique when you can move your chest without relying on your shoulders. Also, I see pretty much after any workshop I teach or take anywhere, everyone's doing this thing, kind of like massaging each other, constant pain in the upper trapezius, essentially where the neck connects to the shoulders. And this is really unnecessary. This is a part of our body where we hold tension in all the time. So there's no reason to put more tension in there. We're dancing, we should be enjoying ourselves. It should feel like a relaxing situation. So we don't need to put more tension in there. And then when you can do your chest movements, your articulations without relying on the shoulders, then you have options. For example, layering shoulders on top of your chest. So, for example, if I do my chest circle, relying on my shoulders like this, which looks kind of cool, it's really big and juicy, but then this is what my shoulders are always doing, and it's gonna feel really tiring over time. But if I can move my shoulder, or my chest, in my chest circle with my shoulders relaxed, and then have the option to move my shoulders on top of it, maybe we can reverse it or do a shoulder figure 8 with the chest circle. You have a lot more options and clarity of movement. All right, you can try those on your own. So that's our front V's, right? If we were to do just a front V in the chest, I would go to that front left diagonal and then front right. And you could either stop in neutral or you could go all the way down back to make a really large V, and then up, left, down, back. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Good. Yeah. Awesome. So the last 2 points are our down angle points. So going to the down right position and then down left position. So again, let's dissect how we took our chest to the right and then make a little combination of the two. So we went to the right by contracting left oblique and left lat, just in our chest slide, and then back to neutral. And then when we went down, we used our upper abs, right? So we want to keep the upper abs and left oblique. We're going to get rid of the lat. So going down to the right, there you go. So upper abs, left ribs squeezing, and then come back up to neutral. Exactly, try that again. So I sort of feel like there's a little, you can try it with the exhale. It's good to not have to necessarily rely. Ooh, look at those intercostals, nice. And then back to neutral. And then let's try the same thing. So when we went left, we used the right oblique. When we went down, we used upper abs. So a combination of the two, right oblique, upper abs, exactly, down right, and then back to neutral. I kind of like to ask students to press your back into my hand here. Yeah, and you're going down to that angle and then back to neutral. So think of coming, yeah, there you go, back towards there, back to neutral. And then again, notice she's coming back to true neutral each time, not overshooting it, not going here, so that when we go back down, it feels like a big movement. really truly finding that neutral and maintaining it. So now we're going to do just a little bit of troubleshooting and show you what we don't want to happen. So as I mentioned earlier, I personally as a dance teacher ask my students to find ways for movement to work for them. Meaning that if something that I'm asking you to do doesn't work for your body or doesn't feel right, you don't need to do it. Just make it work for you, or if you don't like something, throw it out the door. Also, I'd like to say this is not the end all be all of how to do upper body work. This is my approach that I have found has really helped me to gain clarity and movement, but also to really solidify neutral position in my chest. And when we get to the pelvic octogram, it will be the same thing. So we were just discussing how difficult it is to maintain that neutral position in the lower half of the body. We start to feel like, well, I'm not using the lower half of my body. Why am I using my energy to keep this demi-plie in my legs, this soft bend in my knees, and keeping engagement in my pelvis? Like, why can't I just strain my legs and relax? And the reason why I ask you to maintain that neutral position in your lower half of the body is that it's just good training to keep you there so that when we're dancing, we don't have to think about it. But again, it's going to give you stronger upper body isolations. So let's talk about the chest lifting and dropping. Let's have you turn a little to the right diagonal again. So again, the chest is not going straight forward or straight up. It's going sort of at a diagonal, up and forward. But what happens a lot is letting the pelvis go. Yeah, exactly. So it feels like, wow, look how far my chest has gone, or it feels like it's gone really far, but we're actually going into an anterior pelvic tilt where the tailbone comes behind us, or the legs start to straighten, and then we get sort of this curve through the spine. And you can see my shoulders are not stacked over my hips. So we want to maintain that neutral position. I'm really thinking of engaging from my lower abdominal muscles. I am using my pelvic floor, or mula bandha, if you're familiar with that terminology. So I'm thinking of, again, from the inside out, stabilizing, and then that spiraling up and out from the inner thighs. And I'm really a fan of, you probably already know watching these videos, touching myself and feeling what's going on. But I like to actually sort of touch from my inner thighs and imagining an energetic spiral up and out. And that already makes it feel like my pelvis is much more open to the front. And then my glutes can be relaxed and maintain me here, or maintain this position. Your quads are gonna feel this. They're supporting you. They get stronger over time, I promise. So I think we addressed pretty well before what happens when you drop your chest and you round your shoulders forward, right? The other thing that can happen with your pelvis is the pelvis gets pushed forward as well. Not really a position that we want to be in. Doesn't look nice, doesn't really feel nice either. Yeah. And then same thing with all of our directions. Let's face back to the mirror. Let's talk about that chest slide, our just right to left directions. If our hips are not stabilized, what happens is the hips kind of counterbalance you. That's what our brain is always trying to do, is counterbalance us. You stick your hip to the side, automatically your chest goes to the other side to counterbalance you. So that's why it's really important to stabilize the hips so we don't get this going. We have just a chest movement on its own. Yeah. We danced together. Yeah. So one of the things that might help, especially for stabilizing the hips when we're moving our chest side to side, is that you're keeping your weight even between your feet, rather than letting your weight shift into your right foot or your left foot. So when I'm doing my technique drills, I imagine a center line through my body, and then I should be able to fairly easily lift one foot up or the other without my hips having to do much counterbalancing. All right, so now we've done some of our troubleshooting. Let's go through the actual octogram. So starting to the left, again, we're gonna go clockwise. We're gonna go straight to the left and then back to neutral. Up left, back to neutral. Up and forward, neutral. Right forward diagonal, neutral. To the right, neutral. Now I'm gonna think of back and down right, neutral. Down and in, neutral. Down right, neutral. And then we hit all 8 points, each time returning back to that exact same neutral. So let's go through it again. I'm just gonna say which muscles we're using so we can remember that. So right lat, right oblique. neutral. I want to say something about neutral. So a lot of times, especially when we go faster with something like the octogram or do a lock combination, oftentimes students will ask me, how are you locking into neutral? They get the concept of which muscles we're using to lock away from our neutral position, but how do you lock coming into neutral position? This is something that comes with practice over time, but I sort of think of stopping myself, and I think of the opposite muscles that I use to get going. If I'm going to the right, I would think of the opposite muscles that would take me to the left to sort of stop me. So if I'm going, let's go back to that left, or we didn't go there yet, sorry, let's go left. So I'm going left. We know we can get that lock from an extra contraction right at the end of the movement from the right lat, right oblique. But as we come back to neutral, what's gonna stop me? I feel like I come back to neutral and I slightly contract from my left lat and my left oblique, and then boom, and I can lock it to neutral. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I don't think we've talked about this before. So let's try that if we're going to the left front diagonal. She's contracting her right lat and lower trapezius, so we're at that angle. Now we're gonna think of relaxing the front by contracting from the front left, excuse me. So I'm gonna contract from my left rib and upper abs. Yeah, and then that was a nice little sharp movement back to neutral. So up and forward, lower trapezius, shoulders relaxed, and then she's gonna release that about halfway because we still need that lower trapezius contraction to maintain neutral, but then she's gonna add a little catch from the upper abs. Exactly. It also helps you to not go too far, to have that awareness. So right diagonal, so we have left lat, left oblique, coming back to neutral, a little engagement from right lat, right oblique, going to the right, and then back to neutral, and then down right. So we have left oblique, upper abs, and then back to neutral. So now you're going to use the back body to help snap you to neutral. So you would use the right lat and the upper ab, or the lower trapezius. I know this sounds like a lot. If this sounds overwhelming, don't think about it too much. Just go in the directions, and then when you feel more comfortable, listen to all of this technical stuff. We're almost there. Down center, so contracting upper abs, and then she's gonna release that. Exactly, contracting lower trapezius about 50%. Last one, right down. Go back to that. This way a little bit more. There we go. So right oblique, right rib, excuse me, and then coming back to neutral. She's using her lower trapezius and left lat, and I think you can see that pretty well. So that's the octogram. 8 points going in spoke-like movement, returning to neutral each time. So let's just go through that one more time without me talking too much. So left, neutral, up left, neutral, up forward, neutral, up right, neutral, right, neutral, down right, neutral, down, neutral, down right, neutral. Excellent. So we're gonna go through this together, meaning Kai and I, and you of course, all of us together are gonna drill this. We'll go clockwise and then we'll switch and go counterclockwise. Again, we're gonna focus on maintaining our neutral position in the lower half of the body, and we're gonna focus on keeping the shoulders relaxed. I often get questions about how do you breathe when you're doing this type of movement, because it's the way we naturally move is you use your breath to expand or make a movement bigger, and then we exhale to contract or pull back in. And you can use your breath a little bit, but the thing is, once we start going fast, I don't want to have to rely on my breath to lift and drop my chest, because you're going to eventually probably faint or freak people out if you're performing in that way. So I think of lateral breathing, where I'm not just breathing from the belly and from the front of the ribs. I want to think of expanding my breath into the side ribs and into the back ribs. So if I'm contracting going over to the left diagonal, for example, I'm contracting my right lat and lower trapezius. So I'm not going to breathe from this part of my ribs, but I have a little space here to take a little more breath in there, and then I can pull back to neutral with or without the breath. However, when I drill, I like to just sort of find a natural breathing pattern and stay with that. So maybe thinking of inhale, exhale, and then inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Easier said than done. I feel like teaching has helped me a lot. Having to talk while doing it is helpful. So maybe you can talk along with me or however you can make it work for yourself. But let's try this. Okay, here we go. We're gonna start from neutral position in both the pelvis and the chest. So feet hip width apart, knees are soft or we're in a demi-plie. We're gonna drop that tailbone. We're gonna come into our slight posterior tilt. So glutes relax, think of lengthening the low back, a little engagement and lift up and in with the low belly, pelvic floor engaged. Tall through the spine, ears over the shoulders, shoulders over the hips. Let's start with the hands resting on the hips. We're gonna do our octogram going clockwise, starting left. Remember, you're using your lower trapezius maybe about halfway or 50% or so to get your chest to neutral. But then from there, we can use it or take it away to get the chest to lift up or down. So here we go. Going left, neutral, left diagonal, neutral, right diagonal, neutral, right up. Oh, I forgot. Good thing Kai's here. Let's try that again. I'm really liking to get ahead of myself right now. Let's start again. Here we go. To the left, left, neutral, up left, neutral, up, neutral, right up, neutral, right, neutral, down right, neutral, down, neutral, down left, neutral. Let's try that again. Let's take the arms out to the side, elbows back, energy through the fingers. So I add a little slight press down with my hands, and that's gonna help stabilize my chest and my hips a little bit more. So again, clockwise octogram, left, neutral, up left, neutral, up, neutral, up right, neutral, right, neutral, down right, neutral, down left, neutral. Again, left, neutral, relax those shoulders, up, left, neutral, up, neutral. Make sure your pelvis is still neutral, right, neutral, down right, neutral, down left, neutral. A little faster, left, neutral, up, neutral, up, right, neutral, down right, neutral, down, neutral. One more time, and left, neutral, up, neutral, up, right, down, left. Take a second, shake that out. Check in with your shoulders. If your shoulders are already feeling a little bit tense, it might mean they're doing a little bit of work, which is okay. It's just good to bring your awareness to it. If you feel like your shoulders are doing a lot of that work, I like to place my hands right here and drill the octogram. Especially on the downs, you'll start to feel how your shoulders want to lift towards your ears. It feels like you're dropping your chest down, but really you're just tensing up here. This is not the prettiest look. I wouldn't do this on stage, but it's good for practice. So now let's do counterclockwise, starting to the right, going forward. And let's go back to hands on the hips. So I like starting with hands on the hips because if I dump in my low back or my hips are counterbalancing, I can feel it because my hands are gonna notice what's happening there. So here we go. Right, neutral, up right, neutral, up, neutral, up left, neutral, down left, neutral, down right, neutral, arms out, right, neutral, up right, neutral, up left, neutral, down left, down right, a little faster, and right, neutral, up right, neutral, up left, down, watch the shoulders, again, right, neutral, up right, up left, down left, down, down right. Good, shake that out. Ooh. All right, so what happens when we take away neutral is we can keep each of those 8 points connected by still adding a little bit of a lock. So it's sort of breaking a chest circle, meaning that we're gonna go to the left diagonal, or sorry, not diagonal, straight to the left, and then from there, left diagonal, up, up diagonal, right, down, down left. So we have 1, 2, up, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, left, corner, up, corner, right, corner, down, corner. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Arms out. 1, 2, up, corner, right, corner, down, corner. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Smooth it out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Watch the low back. One more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and relax. So now you should have a really big, lovely, juicy chest circle where you know which muscles that you're working from. Everything feels really supported because we're thinking about stabilizing around the spine, moving from the inside out, which is going to allow us to have that really big, gooey chest circle without having to push in the shoulders and sort of collapsing in the core. So let's try the same thing going counterclockwise. It's good to drill both directions because you'll probably have a direction that's a little stronger than the other. This is my stronger direction. Which way do you like, clockwise or counterclockwise?
Clockwise.
Yeah. All right, so let's go back to hands on the hips. So we're gonna go to all those 8 points, but with no neutral. So once we begin, neutral is out the door, but not for your pelvis. Here we go. So right corner, up, up left, left, down, down right. 1, 2, up 3, 4, left 5, 6, down 7, 8. Arms out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Smooth it out. Chest circle. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. One more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Relax. Whew. Awesome. So take as much time as you need to practice these on their own and find that clarity of movement. Like always, if you have any questions, feel free to shoot me a question. I love nerding out about this stuff. And from here, we're going to take it into a little quicker drill with some music. Yeah. All right, let's start with our arms open, elbows back, going left. Left, let's go slow, neutral. Up, left, neutral, low trapezius, up, neutral. Left lat, left oblique, neutral. Left lat, left oblique, neutral. Upper abs, left rib, neutral. Upper abs, neutral. Down left, right ribs, upper abs. Here we go, a little faster. Corner, up, up right, right, down down left. Okay, again, this tempo. Right, down left, a little faster. Left, corner, up, corner. So you can make your movements smaller, keep it controlled, relax the shoulders, stabilize the hips. Woo. We're gonna take away neutral. We're gonna go left, corner, up, corner, right, corner, down, corner, left, corner, up, corner, right, corner, down, corner. 2 more times. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 1. 2, corner, right, corner, down. Now we're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Left, up, right, down, left, up, right. Smooth it out. Left, up, right, down. Relax the shoulders. Take the arms up. Take little hand waves down. Left, up, right, down, left, up, right, down. 5, 6, 7, 8, and relax. All right, again, checking in, knees bent, feet hip width apart, tailbone drop, chest to neutral, shoulders relaxed to the right, neutral, upright, neutral, forward, up, neutral, up, left, neutral, left, neutral, down, left, neutral, down, neutral, down, right. Again, that same tempo. So left lat, left oblique, neutral, left lat, low trapezius, neutral, low trapezius, neutral, right lat, low trapezius, neutral, right lat, right oblique to the left, upper abs, right ribs, neutral, upper abs, go down, neutral, and then left ribs, upper abs, neutral, little faster, right, neutral, corner, neutral, up, neutral, left diagonal, left, right, left down, excuse me. It's hard to do this and talk. Again, right, corner, up, corner, left, watch the shoulders, upper abs, down, right. 2 more times the speed. Whew. One more time here. And down, down, right. We're gonna go a little faster. Right, neutral, corner, up, corner, left, down, right. Again. Let's do that 2 more times. Keep that pelvis still, shoulders relaxed. I know I'm a broken record. Whew. Taking away neutral. Right, corner, up, corner, left, corner, down, corner. Right, up, left, down. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Little faster. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right. Up, left, down. 2 more times. Whew. Smooth it out. 2, 3, 4. Nice juicy chest circle. Do some hand waves down here. Ooh, oh, we finished the song this time. Good, and relax. Ooh. All right, so that was our chest octogram. I practice this every time I work on my belly dance technique, and it gets easier the more that you do it. I know it might feel a little intense at first, but what's great about the octogram is that now you have all these different directions that you can move to with clarity, and having an understanding of which muscles we're using. And by the way, when I say lower trapezius to lift the chest forward and up, it doesn't mean that that's the only muscles that are working. All of our muscles wrap around each other and work in unison. So it's really simplistic to talk about it in that way. I like to know a little bit of anatomy and have an understanding of what's going on without getting too overwhelmed and too complex. Of course, you can nerd out about it as much as you want. And if you do, I'd love to hear what you find or what your thoughts are. But anyhow, so we've already demonstrated how we have now our chest circle that we have nice and big and clean after drilling our octograms. We can also do things like chest diamond. So if I were to take my chest left, I would go to that left point, then I would go straight up to that forward up point, to the right, and then down. So moving on diagonals. So those are our 4 points this way. If I were to do a square, it'd be 4 points sort of this way. Again, remember the octogram is moving on this plane, so it's not flat, it's kind of like this. So my square, I can use my left lat, left oblique to slide my chest, well, I'm telling you the wrong way, to go to the side. And then from there, we keep that contraction as we add lower trapezius to go up. Then we contract lat oblique to go to the side. Keep that as you add upper abs. So now we have a square. Again, muscles that we've already worked on and strengthened. We use these muscles from the octogram in movements like body waves, undulations. So we start from upper back, upper abs to roll down from there. There's really so much that you can play with RVs. If I do a front V, I'm going to the front right corner, neutral, front left corner, or I can go all the way down towards that down center point. And then if I were to do a back V, I would start either in neutral or all the way up, and then I can go to those down corner positions. Whew. All right, so thank you so much. Hope you enjoy, and again, let me know if you have any questions. And thanks to Kai for letting us use your studio and demonstrating today. Check out her Patreon.